you for joining us for this new edition of France in Focus. I'm Nadia Sharbi, and this week you join us in one of the most multicultural areas of the capital to delve into that difficult question of racism. While the current global soul-searching began in the US, xenophobia and discrimination take on specific forms here in France, no doubt the result of the country's colonial past, but also of its immediate aftermath, namely the post-war decades known as the 30 Glorious Years, a time of prosperity only made possible by the massive influx of cheap foreign labour.
It was on ships like this that France's new immigrant workforce arrived to rebuild the country in the 1950s. They came to fill pressing needs in construction and manufacturing after World War II. But they received a less than warm welcome. Racist remarks were graffitied on walls, and people on the streets felt free to express their hostility.
Je crois qu'il ne faut pas mêler les races.
Si vous aviez une chambre à louer et qu'un Chinois venait se proposer pour l'occuper, ça vous gênerait?
Oui, beaucoup.
Nous ne sommes peut-être pas racistes, mais en habitant à côté de ces gens-là, nous le devenons. Moi, je le deviens.
On July 1st, 1972, a new law was passed that banned racial discrimination in any form. Violations would be punishable by a prison sentence or fine. Racist incidents were common at the time for job seekers and in the housing market.
Avant de me présenter, par exemple, je téléphone, on me dit oui, monsieur, passez. Mais dès que je passe, on me dit désolé, le propriétaire ou enfin la propriétaire ne veut pas d'homme de couleur.
Immigrant families tried to build a new life in France, but with the economic crisis, the hardening immigration policy, and the rise of the National Front, new tensions quickly appeared. 1983 marked a change in attitude with the country's first anti-racism movement. Thousands united, walking from Marseille to Paris.
Les gens sont capables ensemble de s'aimer sans différence. On est tous de chair et d'eau. Oh, bah, peut-être pour beaucoup un rêve. Mais pour moi, je pense que ça deviendra une réalité par les petits-enfants.
When the march reached its end in Paris, nearly 100,000 people turned out.
On était parti en tête avec l'idée que tous les Français sont plus ou moins tous racistes. Alors là, on n'a plus le droit de généraliser. On a eu à voir des enfants qui viennent à notre rencontre, même jusqu'à voir un policier porter les cuissons Marche pour l'égalité. Alors.
The march made waves across the country, influenced in part by reports of police violence against young immigrants in Lyon. It would inspire the creation of SOS Racisme in 1984 and its rallying cry, "Hands off, my buddy." From marches to concerts.
Ce mouvement n'appartient qu'à vous qui portez le badge, que vous soyez beurre de Bordeaux, juif de Toulouse, antillais de Brest.
SOS Racisme also went undercover to expose racial discrimination, like here when this couple wanted to enter a nightclub.
Vers minuit, la boîte n'est pas encore pleine. Jamel et Samira vont-ils entrer ou être refoulés?
Les habitués, monsieur, que les gens.
Ouais, sûr.
Pour le moment, on ne cherche pas à avoir notre clientèle.
Whether in the jobs or housing market, scenes like this played out in all facets of daily life. Immigrants were twice as likely to be unemployed and 3 times as likely to live below the poverty line than their white counterparts. Fed up with these statistics, in 2004, the government created the Equal Opportunities and Anti-Discrimination Commission to help victims of racial discrimination.
Donc manifestement, c'est donc votre couleur de peau qui aurait a priori choqué votre interlocuteur, le recruteur.
Many agree the fight for racial equality is far from over, with new incidents of racism occurring on social media and even at football matches.
So if a parallel were to be drawn between the US and France regarding race relations, it would be on policing. For over 15 years, Amnesty International has reported on a lack of transparency regarding police violence, and the country has been taken to task more than once by the European Court of Human Rights. Now, in light of recent events, it's police officers themselves who are starting to speak out.
On doit tirer le rideau sur le racisme qui se passe ici en France sur les personnes racisées.
Speaking out in protests like this one against police brutality and racism. Long a taboo subject, protesters in France are calling out racial discrimination by the police. Even some officers are speaking about the racism they witness and sometimes are victims of themselves.
Ça a commencé petit à petit, des blagues à connotation raciste. Puis on s'aperçoit en fait qu'il n'en résulte pas en fait que de racisme, mais de discrimination au sens large. On va dire que c'est quotidien, quoi. Le tort que j'ai eu, moi, c'est d'en avoir parlé directement à une hiérarchie qui n'a pas réprimé les personnes qui avaient eu ces agissements-là. Et derrière, c'est moi qui en ai subi les conséquences.
Along with Amnesty International, that's denounced French police tactics for years, Human Rights Watch has published a report that found repetitive, baseless police stops targeting minority French youth, some as young as 10, where racist slurs and humiliating palpitations were commonplace. Treatment, they say, that creates distrust and exclusion. 22 cases of police racism went to court last year. And French police unions say that for a force of 150,000 officers, that's proof that such behavior is rare.
Ce n'est absolument pas ni systémique ni endémique. Et la police nationale française n'est bien naturellement pas raciste. Moi, personnellement, j'ai un petit garçon métis. Quand il va à l'école et que ses petits camarades de classe ont entendu des personnalités leur expliquer que les policiers, c'était un ramassis de fachos et de xénophobes, qu'est-ce qu'il peut penser?
For those who are fighting such racism, training police officers is paramount.
Parfois, ce sont des conférences d'historiens sur l'histoire de la police, sur l'antisémitisme, sur la mémoire de l'esclavage. Et puis des fois, c'est des ateliers.
300 police officers took part in such training programs last year. The Interior Ministry is considering requiring them for the entire force.
Well, to learn more now about the workings of racism and discrimination in France, I've come to meet Maboula Soumaoro, an anti-racist activist and professor of French diaspora studies at the University of Tours. Hello, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Nadia, for having me.
Now, let me ask you straight out, is France racist?
I think France is racist, just like other countries are racist in the world. France is not the only nation, and this needs to be understood in a larger historical context and geographic context. So I think France is racist and can be healed or cured from her racism if France accepts the diagnosis.
And how does racism manifest in France specifically?
I think the way racism manifests itself within France is very particular because it's all about silences, it's all about denial. We cannot even recognize the existence of racism in France, so it's really difficult to tackle the issue because we cannot have, let's say, normal conversations about race and racism.
And what's specific to France is perhaps a sort of republican taboo around diversity. Why is multiculturalism so complicated here?
It is complicated because you're right to mention this myth of republicanism, universalism. And France prides herself as a country as being blind to races, blind to ethnic groups, blind to religious differences, even gender differences. This is a lofty and a very, let's say, valuable ideal, but the reality is totally different. So let's talk about this reality and perhaps let's aim at giving actual meaning to the ideals that are upheld.
And does that explain why France rejects the idea of affirmative action so strongly?
I think that what is called positive action is a mistranslation, right? In French, we would say positive discrimination, right? But this mistranslation comes from the American affirmative action. And affirmative action really unfolded into two parts. First, recognition, and second, reparation. So in France, if we haven't reached the level of recognition, there is no way we can repair. And sometimes what is called positive discrimination, which is inherently, nonsense, really fails to recognize the past wrongs, right? The past wrongs that need to be addressed and that needs to be, cured or made disappear.
Now, language is obviously a key issue, and the French have real trouble calling a spade a spade. The notion of race is almost taboo, in fact, in France. More often than not, the French will use the English word black to talk about black people rather than the French word noir. Why and to what effect?
I think this is a very interesting point because in France we have an institution that is called the Académie Française, the French Academy, and the Académie Française could be described as the police of the French language. So we are really interested in cherishing and preserving the French language. So why are we resorting to foreign words, and the English language in particular, to designate specific communities or specific identities. I think it points out to the impossibility, or at least the lack of will, to really address heads-on what seems to be a problem, which is not.
France also has a very specific Republican attitude towards ethnic data. Why?
I think that we could go back to the trauma of the Second World War and the past of collaboration with Nazi Germany and the shame that France has actively participated in the deportation of Jews and other communities, Roma people in particular. So I think that since that moment, France has decided that no longer it will allow its Republican institutions to deal with race officially. The problem is the practice. In everyday life, we are dealing with race on a daily basis.
Now, looking at the way France views and teaches its own history, the country has yet to recognize its colonial past as a crime against humanity, slavery as well. We've heard President Macron recently reject the idea of pulling down statues that, as we've seen happen elsewhere in the world. Why is that? What do you make of that?
I think it's a blatant case of bad faith. I think for the president to say that France will not and shall not replace or even reflect on the meaning of its past is very problematic. We need to do that, and this is what we have done throughout history. Otherwise, all the statues, all the schools, and all the street names would have been the same for centuries, if not millennia. This is ridiculous. Things will change, and things will change thanks to mobilizations.
And there's a lot of talk about allyship in the US. Are non-BIPOC French citizens showing support as their position and awareness evolved?
I think that the evolution is currently underway. But we are talking about a country where it's very difficult for people to identify racially, at least publicly. So we are at the stage of recognizing the existence of racial identities. So little by little, I think that the French would grow accustomed and maybe would be more willing for at least white people to talk about the possibility of being an ally.
Maboula Soumaoro, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Nadia.
And on that food for thought, we leave this edition. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.